Lover.
Oh, it's another day here at the Comeback Team Studios. And this is your boy, Bek Lover. And we got a lot to cover, from the CEO of United Healthcare to Syria has fallen very quickly, very unexpectedly. There's a vacuum of power in that region. Who's really behind what? We're going to cover some of that today and other interesting stories from around the world, because that's exactly what we do here. I gather all the news, all the current events, all the things that could possibly shift the reality that we live in, and I give you my thoughts, my analysis. I don't claim to be God or perfect, but I've seen a thing or two in my life, and I hope you can learn a thing or two also. I encourage your comments. I do get stories that are sent by you. If you have something you want me to cover on this podcast and you think it's important, shoot me an email at info@beklover.com, and I will take a look at the stories you recommend. At any event, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Thank you for following. There's some changes going on my platforms. I'm cleaning out a lot of the old stuff, regrouping and rebranding, and we are expanding thanks to all of you and the over couple of thousand now just on Spotify. Thank you for all of you watching on Spotify, Rumble, and of course right here on YouTube. And you can listen to the audio version of this podcast anywhere they are received. So I've been seeing a very disturbing trend online when it comes to the, unfortunate incident that happened last week with the United Healthcare CEO who lost his life literally in a doorstep that I used to hang out at when I worked in the building that he lost his life in front of by that assassin. The NYPD releases 2 new photos of a man sought in the killing of the United Healthcare CEO. They have seen him smiling on a hostile security camera, but don't know his name. They found the backpack he discarded while fleeing, but don't know where he's gone. As the search for United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson's killer goes on, investigators are reckoning with a tantalizing dichotomy. They have troves of evidence, but the shooter remains an enigma. Police don't know who he is, where he is, or why he did it, though they are confident it was a targeted attack instead of a random act. Do you think? The net is tightening, New York City Mayor Adams said Saturday. Hours after he spoke, police divers were seen searching a pond in Central Park where the killer fled after the shooting. Officers have been scouring the park for days for any possible clues and found his bag there Friday. Late Saturday, police released 2 additional photos of the suspected shooter that appeared to be from a camera mounted inside a taxi. The first shows him outside the vehicle, and the second shows him looking through the partition between the back seat and the front of the cab, and both his face is partially obscured by a blue medical-style mask. Retracing the gunman's steps uses surveillance video. Police say it appears he left the city by bus soon after the shooting Wednesday morning outside the New York Hilton Midtown. He was seen on video at an uptown bus station about 45 minutes later. Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenney said, with the high-profile search expanding across state lines, the FBI has announced late Friday that it was offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction, adding to a reward of up to $10,000 that the NYPD has offered. Okay, that's what's been going on, right? What I find disturbing, and this is reported by the New York Post, is that people think it's funny. Regardless, I think we can all agree the healthcare system's broken. So many times people get footed with bills. The cost of healthcare in this country is astronomical. It's unacceptable, especially when you take into account how much money is spent by our government in conflicts across the world that end the lives of millions of people, send our men and women and boys in uniform in harm's way to most of the way we think for no reason, really. The American people have not gained anything. And you can sit here and say security and they're protecting us. You know what? If you don't invade countries, you don't have any enemies. You mind your own business and be laissez-faire like we should be as a nation, people don't have a problem with you. But we've been exposed over the last 25 years. The world's waking up, and we are the bullies. We have been the bullies. And the backlash is growing, and the world is getting tired of our policies. We all pray for a righteous leader in the White House that will only go to war if there's absolutely no other option, but not because we have to support every country out there in their conflicts or corporate interest. The backlash is so great that people are taking a horrible act, regardless if this guy was good or not. I don't think any of us knew him. He had a family. He had people that knew him that are mourning his loss. And I think the last thing any human being should do is make fun of a violent act. If we want change, we can lobby, we could protest, we could demand better policies from these insurers, our companies, and the officials that regulate the insurance industry, celebrating the demise of a human being that was assassinated in broad daylight, that has children, that has a family, regardless of how good they are or bad they are as a person, I think is morally wrong. I'm going to play these videos of people making fun of him. And I've seen videos on my Instagram from, I think it was Subway DJ, of people going in front of the place and reenacting how the CEO fell down. And it's not funny. It's tragic.
Really high deductibles?
They just won't cover my stuff. So.
What insurance do you have?
Oh, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Do you think you'll get a call from NYPD?
Boy, I hope not.
So over here, people are, dressing like the shooter. They think it's funny, and I don't think it's funny. There was one, I just saw it. I can't find it. There was one comedian who, it was kind of funny what he was saying. But basically, the comedian was at the Comedy Cellar in New York, and he was like, that guy probably got a bill for $40,000. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to take care of this right now. I understand it's comedy and we make fun of unfortunate things and it can be kind of dark, but I still don't think it's the right thing to do. Now, on to more very important news globally. The regime of Bashar al-Assad, after 50 years, has finally fallen. Now, we could look at this on the surface level and say, good, the guy fell, he was of a deviated sect of Islam, and there's so many different spinning factors here that both non-Middle Easterners, Muslims, non-Muslims, Christians play a role in this whole thing too, meaning, there's a lot of Christians in Syria, and there's talks of, there might be some conflict, and so this is a very volatile time for the entire Middle East. So first, let's cover some of the basic news, and then I'll give you my analysis. The Syrian president Bashar al-Assad is believed to have fled the country. His family has ruled over 50 years as rebels said they had captured the capital after a lightning advance completed in just under 2 weeks. 2 senior Syrian officials told Reuters that Assad had fled Damascus, his destination unknown. The senior Emirati diplomat Anwar Gargash declined to say whether Assad was fleeing to the UAE. When people ask where is Bashar al-Assad going to say, when you really look at this, this is really at the end of the day a footnote in history. The Syrian leader had been publicly absent as Islamist militant insurgents spearheaded a sweeping offensive that began in a small enclave in northern western Syria and within 11 days appeared to have toppled Assad's rule. In their first announcement on state television following the offensive that took the world by surprise, rebels said they had ended Assad's 24-year authoritarian rule. A group of people were shown at the state television news studio, with one reading a statement from the Damascus Conquest Operations Room, announcing the liberation of the city of Damascus and the fall of the tyrant Bashar al-Assad and the release of all the unjustly detained from the regime prisons, calling on fighters and citizens to safeguard the property of the Free Syrian State. Syria's Army Command notified officers on Sunday that Assad's regime had ended. A Syrian officer who was informed of the move told Reuters, but the Syrian army later said it was continuing operations against terrorist groups in the towns of Hama and Homs and Dore countryside. Rebels said they had freed prisoners from Damascus' notorious Sedaniya prison, regarded as a symbol of the Assad regime's brutality, while video from Damascus showed a man climbing on top of a hospital sign to tear down a poster of Assad's face. In the capital center square, people climbed on top of tanks and cheered as they trampled on a toppled statue of Assad's father, Hafez. In Syria's second city of Aleppo, claimed by insurgent forces just 1 week before, Celebratory singing broadcast on the speakers of mosque was interspersed with the sound of ululating and cheering ringing out across the rooftops. The Assad family has ruled Syria since 1971, when Hafez al-Assad seized power in a military coup before his son Bashar inherited the presidency in 2000. Their control of the country was enforced through a vast security state, crushing dissent through a broad network of detention centers and government surveillance. Here's Syrian rebels, furniture from the presidential palace. This is reported by The Guardian. They're taking the chairs out, they're taking everything out. Very similar to the scenes of when Saddam fell. The beautiful palaces that they lived in, made out of marble and granite. His pictures are all over the floor, posters of him all over the floor. Because these tyrants like to put their pictures everywhere, you know, godlike, like King Jong-un, you know. But who are these Syrian rebels who have captured Damascus? Explained in 30 seconds. The rebels are led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, along with an umbrella group of Turkish-backed Syrian militias called the Syrian National Army. The rebels who have swept through Syria are led by an Islamicist alliance, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Both have been entrenched in northwest. They launched the shock offensive on 27th of November with gunmen, capturing Aleppo, Syria's largest city, and the central city of Hama, the fourth largest. The founder of HTS, Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, was once a participant in the Iraqi insurgency against the U.S. as a member of the group that eventually became Islamic State. In its former incarnation as Jabhat al-Nusra, or the al-Nusra Front, HTS later declared allegiance to al-Qaeda. It eventually publicly broke those ties in 2016 and rebranded as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an organization for the liberation of the Levant. It is designated as a terrorist group by the U.S., and there are serious human rights concerns in the area. The Turkish-backed militias also have an interest in creating a buffer zone near the Turkish border to keep away Kurdish militants at odds with Ankara. Turkey has been a main backer of fighters seeking to overthrow Assad, but more recently has urged reconciliation, and Turkish officials have strongly rejected claims of any involvement in the current offensive. Okay, this is a time of mass confusion. Okay, we don't know which groups are which, who's really supporting them, who's really backing them. I'm not defending the regime of Bashar al-Assad at all. Okay, I'm glad he's gone. The question is, who's stepping into that role? What is their motive? What is their agenda? And what does it mean for the future of Syria and the entire region? Syria is one of the most important locations in the world from the spiritual perspective. There are prophecies in Christianity and in Islam that signify the end of time over the Euphrates River, which cuts through these two very troubled countries for the last 25 years, Iraq and Syria. The majority of the Euphrates River does cut through these two countries. So, in Islam, for example, some believe that this is where Jesus Christ will return to, literally Damascus. That's what some of the Muslims believe, that this is where he will descend down from the heavens and bring his just rule to the world. Now, when we look at this map, you know, here's Syria, and we can see Iraq and Syria and the Euphrates, the majority of it runs through this region. We know that one of the greatest wars ever from the Islamic perspective will happen over the Euphrates River, where the whole entire world will fight over some type of treasure that is buried beneath the Euphrates River. First, the river will dry, then there will be a treasure that is exposed, and then the whole world will fight over that treasure. Do they know that there's something there? It's also, important to note that Netanyahu orders the IDF to take control of Syrian buffer zone with Israel as prior agreement has collapsed. The buffer zone on the Israeli-Syrian border has been demilitarized since 1974. Though it remains unknown if rebel groups in the area will maintain the agreement, Israeli troops are ordered to use deterrent fire if the border fence is approached. So, this agreement has collapsed. Syrian soldiers abandon their positions. We will not allow any hostile forces to establish themselves at our border. So, They have, from what I understand, their tanks are rolling into the region that has been a buffer zone to create more of a buffer. This may benefit Israel. They may, who knows, maybe make a land grab. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Now that this guy's overthrown and we don't really know who's running this group or who's backing them or what their goals are, this story is far from over, and we could be approaching the Great War. We do not know. We do not know. But definitely the stage is set with all the loss of life in that region, with all the overthrowing of leaders, with all the battles and the sectarians and the insurgents of all these different factions. A lot of this stuff is aligning, in my opinion, with prophecy before and during the emergence of the Antichrist from the Muslim perspective. The Christian perspective believes when the Euphrates River drives, there's some angels that are, and I can pull that prophecy up, buried beneath it, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very fascinating time from the spiritual perspective, from the Christian and Muslim perspective. And I would hope that the Christians and the Muslims would not fall into any traps that might be laid out for them to create tension between the Christians and the Muslims in the Middle East, in places like Syria and places like Lebanon. This is a time of massive chaos. This is a time of great deception. This is a time where you really don't know who's who and what's what and who's backing who and what. There's so many different groups. As I mentioned, these guys, supposedly they've rebranded their name 50 times. Nobody knows until they know. We can only judge going forward. We can't really judge going backward yet. However, we are living in a very interesting time. There is vacuum for power there, and I think it's far from over. I think that we're just in the second act of all of this. My next story is at least 10 people were injured after an officer on a motorcycle crashes into a crowd at Palm Springs Holiday Parade. So at least 10 people were injured. It happened just after 6 p.m. According to a statement issued by the city, the crash happened along the parade route. 10 people, including the officer, were rushed to the hospital with non-life-threatening issues. The officer reportedly lost control of his motorcycle while attempting a trick and severed his hand in the process. Severed his hand. Maybe you shouldn't be doing tricks at a packed parade. Let's take a look at this video.
Oh my God!
He literally was going like 60 miles an hour. It's crazy. Like, why is he doing this?
Oh my God!
Breaking news now.
Smashed. Lost his hand.
Christmas parade. I'm Michelle Fisher.
And I'm Jory Rand. This happened during tonight's Palm Springs Festival of Lights parade. Victims could be seen being treated.
Crazy. So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna try to do a trick, make sure you're a professional. New Jersey has been a hotbed in the last couple of days. There's been massive drone sightings. People are posting videos all over. Actually, I'd like to pull up X. I forgot to do that before the broadcast. Let's see what's going on out there right now. Let's see what's trending. But, there's been a lot of drone talk. But these drones are supposedly the size of cars. That's pretty big. So where is it coming from? And there's been tons of videos. People are just, posting all kinds of stuff. I'm noticing a lot of fake videos. But this is a time of mass confusion. New drones spotted tonight off the West Coast entering the ocean. We can't confirm if these are real or not. Drone was shot down or crashed in Hunterdon County, New Jersey. New Jersey State Police searching in wooded area, and FBI and FEA have been notified. I mean, this is the type of stuff that people are taking pictures with their cell phones. Okay? Very large objects flying over the skies of New Jersey, flying over a lot of different things. Source, Pix 11 News. UFOs, UAPs are the size of cars and they're flying for hours, which means they're not drones.
Off backyard and has the video to prove it.
They kind of go slow, they come towards you, then they'll change direction a little. They're all going different ways.
The drones have been spotted all over Morris County. Morristown police sent an alert to residents Sunday. She's seen the drones every night since November 18th.
I can see them right out my bedroom window. I can watch them. Last night was about 5:30, so it was earlier. But it's normally between...
So why can't the military step in here? Mysterious drones have been spotted hovering over neighborhoods in New Jersey, leaving residents confused. This is on CBS. Okay.
This is a video of the Morris County drones with characteristic triangle lights on the back or underneath.
My wife and I were driving. We saw one right up above us that was the size of our car. I mean, it's crazy.
They're very fast. They dart around, but no one can figure out, like, why are they here? The rumors have gone from Russian spies to people stalking Trump to aliens, so nobody really knows what's going on, but it's definitely concerning.
It's suspicious to me, obviously. It's creepy.
Went outside to prove my point.
So that's kind of what's going on here. I'm not far from this region. Part of me wants to go and try to check it out.
Oh my God, here we go. Here it is. Are you freaking kidding me right now? What is that? Oh my God.
I mean, the military needs to address it by this. Bizarrely shaped UFO filmed in New Mexico. Okay, I can't confirm if these videos are authentic or not. All I know is for the last couple of months, it's all been about UAPs and UFOs and this and that. These drones being seen over New Jersey are Galactic Federation crafts. They're partially disguised to give those who aren't ready time to adapt. Some look like planes, some look like drones. The military already knows they can't stop them. Nothing can stop what's coming. Okay, this is what people believe. There's a federation from space coming down to take over.
This is a video
humanity.
of the Morris County drones with characteristic triangle lights.
That is massive.
My perspective on this is not aliens, okay? I think this is technology that humans have. I believe they're using this technology to try to deceive us, to take us into a trap, to corner humanity into thinking there's a superior race that created us. People like Billy Carson, people like Jack Parsons. These people are a reason why, I believe, there's an agenda to convince humanity they were created by aliens and not by God. We've heard all the rumors from holograms, from Project Blue, you know what, okay? I'm telling you,
anything, or is this just
there's a lot of deception
quick
here.
Second question. You talked about this new classified strategy, and you had talked before about that there were some incursions, particularly down in Virginia, over military facilities, and there's been others. Is there anything in the strategy that's more tactical that allows commanders to do anything, or is this just a broad statement of policy?
Of course, it's got all kinds of good information, but it's classified, so I can't talk about it. No. So really, Lita, again, recognizing that the strategy is classified, we will have an unclassified fact sheet that we'll be providing soon. Really, just kind of looking at how we'll approach this. One is ensuring that the department is prepared to conduct counter unmanned system operations, counter UAS operations. Two is looking at how we respond to incidents that do occur by pulling together subject matter experts and resources. And then third is tracking equipment and counter UAS equipment, UAS as one aspect of drones. So really, again, broad brush. It's kind of looking at this in a comprehensive and cohesive way. Again, I'm not going to go into the specific tactics, techniques, procedures at this point, but it enables the department to approach this in a way, again, that's comprehensive, cohesive, and holistic.
They know exactly what's going on, I promise you. All I ask you to do is ask yourself. Most of you don't trust these people for anything. You don't trust them for what they did to us in 2019. You don't You don't trust them for why they start conflicts and wars across the world. Why would you trust their narrative for what this is supposed to be? Ask yourself that question. If you can't trust them about anything else, why they invade a country, why they started a war, why they went to this place, why they went to that place. They lie in front of your face. They shut down the world. They told you one thing while they did other things. Why would you trust them for this? Why would you trust them? You know? So to have our airspace flooded and inundated like this by unidentified flying objects that no one really understands what they are, at a time where there's global conflict everywhere, you know, why is it that we can't get clear-cut answers? Let's see what the governor of New Jersey had to say.
Advanced military craft, and that the Pentagon's testing these drones over friendly American territory. Drone warfare has become so critical, as we've seen in Ukraine, that the U.S. military needs to test American drone capability in residential and urban areas. But the DoD's acting like these drones are a real concern. Listen.
This week, the Secretary signed a classified strategy for countering unmanned systems, more commonly known as drones, have the potential to pose both an urgent and enduring threat to U.S. personnel, facilities, and assets overseas, and increasingly in the U.S. homeland. As you know, the threats presented by these systems are changing how wars are fought. The DoD is orienting around a common understanding of the challenge and a comprehensive approach to addressing it.
I think it's definitely man-made objects. I do not think they are aliens. I think even if they told us they were aliens, I still wouldn't believe them because I rule my life from the spiritual perspective. And I know towards the end of time, we will be deceived in many ways and we will question everything. So, what are your thoughts on this whole drone phenomenon, UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call it? Okay. I believe what is going on in the world is demonic, nothing to do with aliens. I believe we are the aliens. So let's see what they say here now in this video.
What can you tell us about these drones?
What I would tell you, Jennifer, is that they are being actively monitored. Installation leaders have determined so far that none of these incursions impact the base residents, the facilities, or the assets that we have on those bases. We're, of course, continuing to work with host nation authorities and our mission partners to ensure the safety of our personnel, our facilities, and the equipment. You know, the bottom line is it's something that we're going to take seriously. We're going to continue to look into it. But as of right now, it's not had any significant mission impact.
Some issues with the reporting on how this is being reported, and not drones. Let me be very clear. This isn't conspiracy. This isn't craziness. They are not drones. We had the same situation at Langley Air Force Base in February. They were there for 16 nights and they could not disperse. This is the same thing all over again. It's really, really, really important that we stick to the facts.
What is happening? What can you tell us about?
So, there's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on. So, you know, it is what it is. We're living in very interesting times. Interesting times indeed, my friends. So, next story. Trump will most likely pardon Capitol rioters on day one and says January 6 committee members should be jailed. The president-elect also said during an exclusive interview with Meet the Press that he won't request a special prosecutor to investigate ongoing President Joe Biden. President-elect Donald Trump said he's looking into issuing pardons. Trump's comments, the most sweeping he's made since winning the 2024 election, came during an exclusive interview with Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker. He also said that he will seek to turn the Justice Department on his political foes and warned that some members of the House committee that investigated the January 6th attack should go to jail. I'm going to be acting very quickly, first day, Trump said, adding later about their imprisonment. They've been in there for years, and they are in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open. Trump said that there were some exceptions to his pardons if somebody was radical, crazy, and pointed to some debunked claims about anti-Trump elements and law enforcement operatives infiltrating the crowd. At least 1,572 defendants have been charged and more than 1,251 have been convicted or pleaded guilty in the attack. Of those, at least 645 defendants have been sentenced to periods of incarceration ranging from a few days to 22 years in federal lockup. There are roughly 250 people currently in custody. most of them serving sentences after being convicted. A handful are being held in pretrial custody at the order of the federal judge. Trump didn't rule out pardoning individuals who had pleaded guilty, including when Welker asked him about those who had admitted to assaulting police officers because they had no choice, Trump said. So, if you got family in there for that, you're looking good for the new year. Trump says he will end birthright citizenship. President Donald Trump said he still plans to end birthright citizenship in the U.S. on day one, but was unable to provide insight into how he would go around the 14th Amendment. We're going to have to get it changed. We'll maybe have to go back to the people, Trump said in an interview, but we have to end it. Trump also falsely noted that the only United States has birthright citizenship. I got an idea. When we have these critical decisions to make, put it into a referendum, into a special vote where the American people get to vote if we want term limits, if we want a change in policy, if we want war to end, if we don't want people just being able to walk into this country and get all the rights that we fight for and work hard for and pay taxes for. How is this a democracy when the American people have no say in what happens at all? Very little if you want to use electoral voting as a way. We need reform. We need the masses to be heard. We need the majority to speak in this country and not a few assholes on Capitol Hill. I think we're all sick of it. I don't know how I feel about the birthright. I think that, if you're born here, you should be a citizen. But the problem was people would get into the country illegally, then have a kid, and then they're given citizenship because you can't take them away from their parents, although I've heard cases of that also. So my question is, what do you all think about that as Americans? Just because you're born here, should that mean you're a citizen? If your family came here illegally and they're not citizens, but they gave birth to you in America? It's a very complicated subject, man. It reminds me of the movie East LA or something. Whatever it was, when he gets across the border, she's pregnant. Trump is calling for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. Ukraine has lost 43,000 soldiers in action since the invasion. Yeah, but what are their total losses? This figure contrasts the claim made earlier the same day on December 8 by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, who wrote on his Truth Social platform that the Ukrainian military losses had reached 400,000 soldiers and many more civilians. In his post, Zelensky wrote that Ukraine had lost only 43,000 soldiers killed in action on the battlefield. That's not a pretty high number there for going against a power like Russia, but then why do you need such a big draft? 370,000 cases of medical assistance for the wounded. It is unclear if Trump was referring to total casualties, soldiers killed and injured in his post. So hopefully that conflict comes to an end. Interesting story. A stowaway, that's someone that sneaks onto a boat or a train or a truck or a plane. This stowaway got into a flight from New York to Paris, claims it wasn't her first attempt. Svetlana Dali, 57, told investigators she had tried to travel for free at several U.S. airports by sneaking into secure areas. A woman who evaded security to be a stowaway on a New York to Paris flight in November claimed she had previously tried to sneak into secure areas of other U.S. airports in a bid to travel without a ticket. Svetlana Dali, 57, told investigators that she had tried to travel for free at the several domestic airports. Assistant U.S. Attorney Brooke Theodora said at a bail hearing in federal court in Brooklyn. Theodora said those attempts included one last February at Miami International Airport, where Dali was turned away as she tried to sneak into a secure area by going through a customs process area to reach departing flights. The prosecutor made the remarks as she urged that bail conditions be strict enough to ensure that Dali, an unemployed Russian woman with a permanent U.S. residency, would attend her court hearings. Dali, who wore a brown jailhouse uniform and entered the courtroom limping with a cane, spoke to her lawyer through a Russian interpreter. Earlier, she had been treated and released from a hospital for medical care of an undisclosed nature. The hospital's identification card was on her wrist. So, she was, the charge against her was minor and that her offense was comparable to jumping a turnstile to enter the city subway system. Theodora objected to the comparison at Friday's hearing, saying the offense was serious and raised very significant national security concerns and very significant public security risks. Well, at the same time, it's like when people hire hackers to hack their system. Maybe if this woman can get into secure areas, maybe we need to revamp some security instead of you guys worrying about us taking off our socks. Maybe you should worry about those secure areas and keep them secure. Something that I think that hasn't been secured for a long time in this country, because I feel like corruption seeped into every aspect of our agencies that are supposed to protect us. U.S. Food and Drug Administration moves to ban red food dye. Why all of a sudden? We've been eating cakes and candies with these dyes, not knowing what it does to us, basically drinking dye and paint. The FDA is taking steps to ban Red 3, which is derived from oil, amid concerns about its health effects. Now you're worried about it? Why? Because Bobby Kennedy's coming, bro? The Doge is coming? A red food dye that is ubiquitous in the American drinks, snacks, candies, and cereals may finally be banned by the federal government after years of concern that it has adverse health impacts, particularly upon children. The FDA has said that it could soon act to crack down upon the additive known as Red 3. It's derived from petroleum and used to provide a cherry red coloring to an array of foods. With Red 3, we have a petition in front of us to revoke the authorization board, and we're hopeful that in the next few weeks we'll be acting on that petition. Red 3 is used in nearly 3,000 food products, including a database by one environmental health group, including Pez, Peeps, Betty Crocker's products, and Double Bubble chewing gum. Like other food dyes, it adds nothing of nutritional value and is used instead to add color to the food. While the FDA said that this is food dye, like other such approved additives, is safe to consume if done so correctly, Red 3 has been found to be carcinogenic in animals and has been banned for use in cosmetics since 1990. But we could eat it, though. It's not safe enough to put on our faces, but it's safe enough to eat. What else do you want to know about the food, about why we're getting cancer, about why so many people are falling ill from our food in America? Now, what I find crazy in this next story, and interesting, because this is interesting times with Bek Lover, a film that I always loved as a child was The Wizard of Oz. And I've made comparisons to this generation being the generation of bastards, the Easter Bunny generation, empty, hollow inside, like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. The Tin Man was the metal moving guy that accompanies Dorothy on her journey to Oz, and he's empty inside. He just wished he had a heart. He is also a great analogy for the world that we live in today. Most people are okay on the outside, they are empty on the inside. Besides all of that, the slippers, the ruby red slippers, the magic, very subtle references to magic, which is against people that are spiritual. You can't be like, oh, I want to use magic. There is no form of magic that is accepted. And black magic is real. And I will be covering these topics in depth on this channel and possibly another channel that I might be collaborating with another big influencer on. The iconic ruby slippers sell for $32.5 million. Now, I understand you can be a fan and you want to have these objects, but I don't think rich people get it, man. You're spending $32.5 million because a woman wore a pair of slippers in a movie. There's people starving. There's people hurting. If I ever had that kind of money and power, I would never buy anything like this. I would be like, how can I continue to grow this money? How can I use this money to help people who are less fortunate? I just find it nothing to be envious about or brag about. I think it's just a sick, in my opinion, it shows how sick materialism is and how people that have that kind of wealth have nothing better to do with it except buy slippers that were in a movie instead of maybe helping people. And maybe if they did this more and they did it authentically, maybe they wouldn't be as depressed as a lot of them are. So, we are living in interesting times. This was a very short episode. I'm probably going to release another episode addressing Billy Carson, the guy that believes we were created by aliens, and all of the controversy that is surrounding his name right now online. So you make sure you stay tuned here. Follow the handles. Check us out on X. Check us out on Instagram. And we look forward to it. Also, check out the first episode of The Comeback Team. That podcast is also available on my YouTube channel, and I am uploading it to a new Spotify channel, which will showcase all of the interviews I have ever done or I have ever been on, where you can watch them and enjoy them. And it'll be a playlist on YouTube as well. We live in crazy times. We live in interesting times. Stay strong, my friends. This is your boy, Bek Lover. Till the next time.